So let's go down the path and assume, I think it's a safe assumption that weather is going to continue to increase in severity and continue to be extremely unpredictable in terms of looking at historic data that doesn't necessarily match up with things that are happening now. We literally started the year with an unprecedented wildfire in California, snow in Florida. It was absolutely insane. So how do we stay ahead of it, and how can we actually make a plan that works in the insurance industry for things that we don't know are coming?
So I think it's important to acknowledge with what happened with LA. The outcome was obviously incredibly unfortunate, but if you talk to most wildfire professionals or fire professionals, the outcome was not a surprise. Early insights, IBHS it released an early insight report, and none of it was new, so to speak, for those individuals in that space. But most of the buildings were built before or in and around the 1950s, and so with that, building code was not up to par, taking into account wildfire resiliency. Then you just had the proximity of adjacent structures, which created conflagration, the lack of structure hardening and defensible space, irrespective of the building code, unmanaged surrounding fuels, invasive plants like eucalyptus that are highly volatile, and a number of other things. But with that, I would say that there are communities that are already ahead and doing what they need to be doing. Going back to talking about the glass fire and the outcome of the glass fire with Napa, they're ahead of the curve in terms of just getting everything together through Napa Firewise, all their local fire safe councils, the various wineries, working through CAL FIRE, and working through their various wildfire resource partners. And it's not just Napa, you also have Marin County, Sonoma, there's other counties in California, there's other states. But one of the things that I think is really important when it comes to wildfire is that this isn't just, as you mentioned, the things going on with all of these various weather calamities. This isn't just a California issue when it comes to wildfire. You have wildfires that have occurred in Georgia, in New York, in South Carolina, Arizona, Texas, Montana. And they're going to become more pervasive over time. And so it behooves the insurance industry to get behind understanding mitigation practices, structure hardening, defensible space, so that they can properly underwrite and help incentivize property owners to adhere to those standards.
Can you share an example? You mentioned the proactive risk mitigation that has occurred following the 2020 wildfires. What's an example of a system that's been put in place that is working to mitigate wildfire risk in Northern California?
A good example is a major winery that we write up there. They have spent probably $3 to $4 million installing water cannons on the roof of their buildings. They have purchased fire retardant that they can spray on the outside of the buildings. They have cut out the conifers. The huge change that's happened around Napa is the realization that it is the undergrowth underneath the trees that lead to many of these fires being able to gain strength. And so they've cleared great swaths of undergrowth. And so all of those things have contributed largely to giving a very different fire score. And almost down to being non-existent. Fortress Fire that we work closely with was out at that particular winery I was mentioning and said that what they've actually done there will actually make that property probably fireproof. It should never have a loss, which is quite a statement. And so I think, yes, there's pain in there from an economic standpoint. There's pain there from probably a time standpoint to a degree. But in the long run, it is going to make the insurability of those assets, and quite frankly, forgetting the insurability, just the continuation of the business in the event a wildfire breaks out, far more likely, and it's a lot less stress on the owners.